Hey, so it's me back again with another live stream. I mean, I've been posting mostly on TikTok. Posting live stream. The last few days have been kind of like chill. I've just been kind of like, um, you know, organizing like my plans and stuff like that. And just doing some work out here. Just like focusing on my health for the most part too, because I've been like working out a lot. Um, and doing work like ride share, well, not sharing my ride, but like delivery stuff or whatever the case may be. And I haven't really like been performing. I've been wanting to. I've just been kind of like hesitant about that, mainly because it's like I'm an artist. I know I say this. I like that Badu quote. I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit, and it's like I don't want to put myself out there. And it's not even a matter of like, oh, if I get booed or this and that. It's like I care so much about art and I care so much about like doing a good job. And and I know today is not like what it once was when I used to go to open mics and when shit was cool and I was actually in environments that felt safe and like I was in spaces where I felt like seen and heard. And I get it, like I know it's like I have to get out my comfort zone or whatever the case may be, but like I don't know, that's just a disappointment that I don't need on top of all the other disappointments dealing with humanity. Um yeah, but anyway, from the title of this live stream and let's, kind of the thing that I wanted to talk about. But I mean kind of piggybacking off of that, the thing of like being hesitant of like wanting to perform and like finding spaces is like you know, it's frustrating when you go to new spaces and you deal with the same thing, right? Like, I feel like there's always that thing that people say, like, get out of your hometown, explore the world, go to different spaces. There's probably more opportunities. And to some degree, that can be true. And, in the last few days, I've definitely traveled to spaces that are like different than my hometown. And in some ways, they're like different. In some ways, it can be alike. But I don't know. I just feel like society as a whole is kind of like trapped in this mentality of just like catering to the system. Like we can complain about the system all day, but like we don't do anything to actually change it, especially with like politics and everything. It's like, you could complain about what this administration is doing, but like, what are y'all doing to change it? And I'm not just saying that to people, I'm saying that to myself as well. You know, part of me feels like even in certain opportunities where I like, because it's like little old me, what am I going to do to change the fucking government? You see the type of president that we have. And and the thing with Trump, because like I try to like look up at things objectively. There are times where he has valid points, but I just think the method isn't the best. Um and then there's some times where he's wrong. And he's the type of person that you can't tell him that he's wrong. you know he'll argue you down and gaslight you and do spin moves like he crossing over somebody on a basketball court you know and it's like that's a tough leader to have because it's like you're not open to criticism. There's not a portion of you that think that you could be wrong enough to be able to receive correction you know and And that was kind of like how I felt watching that interview that he had with ABC with Terry. I don't know his last name. You know, and Terry is a class act because he held it together pretty well. He was like, "We're gonna get through this interview, okay?" And Trump was like, "I don't think we're gonna finish this interview." And he's like, "Watch me work." You know, and he handled all of, you know, Trump's spin moves and, you know, insults and all of this. He handled it very well. But the thing is, like, the fact that he had to be so mature, so, you know, emotionally intelligent and reserved to be able to have an interview like that. And partially part of me be feeling like Trump know he do that shit, and he do that shit on purpose because it makes for good TV. But at the same time, you're the president. You're the fucking president. Like, we need somebody that can hear that they're wrong when they're wrong and do the work to be right. You know, and I think, you know, and the thing is, like, this conversation went a different direction, but it's gonna be full circle and it's gonna make sense. Because I didn't want to talk about this, but it makes my point. Like, for example, honestly, I'm not even 100% sure how these tariffs work. I know that when we put tariffs on another country's imports, Americans are the ones that has to pay for that. And I understand if Trump has the mentality like, okay, they have these tariffs on us, we should be having tariffs on them. I guess, you know, I'm like, I don't know how exactly how that works. I understand the mentality, but the strategy I'm not crazy about. And then, you know, and you know, and the thing is, like, and I was watching a little bit. I hadn't watched the whole thing. It's like 2 hours of live stream or whatever of their cabinet meetings. And I'm like, I know I'm just going to be pissed off watching this cabinet meeting because it's basically an ass kicking. I mean, ass kissing table. You know, it's like, who's going to kiss Trump's ass the best? That's basically like from what, because I feel like that's the only way you could be at a table like that. That's the only fucking way. You can't oppose him. You can't challenge him. And especially because it's televised. You know, like, I can understand if it was in a private space. Like, part of me appreciates that it's televised, so it at least allows us to be able to see what type of conversations they be having at these tables. But at the same time, I'm like, because it's televised, I know y'all not going to really say what needs to be said. Y'all going to say, Trump, you know, it's been a rough time with the tariffs, but we really trust your leadership. And, you know, we really thank you. We thank you so much, Trump, for all the hard work that you're doing. And you know, and I'm not saying that that's not what they're supposed to say, but does anybody disagree with that? Is there anybody at that table that thinks, yo, Trump, you wilding with these tariffs? And who's going to tell him that? Who's going to tell him that them tariffs is crazy? Nobody. Even if that's what they think, they're not going to say that. Not the Tears for Fears walking by. Everybody wants to rule the world. I mean, yeah, that's a fact. And but you know, all right, anyway, I received that. I received that. I only say that because literally these two white guys that happen to look like Tears for Fears is walking by. I don't know. I don't know if that's on the script for my life. Like, all right, at this time, have these guys walk by. I don't know. But anyway, who's going to tell him, who's going to oppose him? You know, and mind you, I haven't watched the whole thing. I haven't watched the full cabinet conversation. But my thing is, like, the issue that I have with Trump, I mean, one of the issues that I have with Trump, specifically talking about politics, because I think it's like, I think it's what's the word? I think it's uh what's the word? What's the word? What's the word? I think it's not mature. I don't think that's the best way to say it. I think it's like it's not. Uh, okay, basically, all right. Basically, what I'm trying to say is like I know there's people that just objectively just dislikes Trump, hates him, hates everything that he does, and just thinks all everything that he does is terrible. And there's some people that might have valid reasons and can give you receipts and back up that thought. However, being that he is the president, like him or not, he has a job to do. And the thing is, we shouldn't be rooting for him to do a bad job, you know? And my thing is, if he does something right, will Democrats or people that oppose him be mature enough to say that? You know? And so with that in mind, I try to look at the situation as like, I'm not I'm not rooting against Trump. However, I feel like if he does something right, then I'll speak to that. And if he does something wrong, I'll speak to that. My issue with Trump is that I feel like he only wants to hear what's right. And he's not mature enough to hear when he's wrong. And if somebody tells him that that he's wrong, he just gaslights them and gives and and go beats around the bush and glazes over the issues and doesn't give a clear answer to the things that needs to be fixed. And that's my problem with him. Now, maybe a little hot take, you know, and mainly because I got this perspective from listening to an economist. I forget his name, but he was talking about the whole like Ukraine war. And he was saying like, look, Trump is right in his stance and opinions about the war with Ukraine and with Zelensky and Putin. And the last administration had just been like constantly giving and giving and giving to Ukraine. However, the method, the approach to that conversation was atrocious. And many people like it or not, people respect Zelensky because he's standing up for his country. And he might seem like the little guy in comparison to Putin, but he's standing his ground and fighting the fight for his country. And yes, he needs help, and yes, he needs assistance. I didn't like that conversation that Trump and Vance had with him, like talking about, oh, did you say thank you and this and that. Now look, yes, America has been constantly like giving, I don't know if it's millions or billions to this war, and it's valid to want to know what the spending has been used on. However, I feel like there's a way to say that. There's a way to say that without being disrespectful and being rude to him because, and that whole thing about like, oh, what are you wearing? That shit doesn't fucking matter. That's not important. Like that man is at war right now. And like he said, it's a luxury to be dressed up. I'm over here because I'm trying to see what kind of help I can get to save my people and save my country. That's why I'm over here. Fuck dressing up for you people. And that conversation, like I say that because I can see both sides. Most people would just look at that situation and just be like, "Oh, Trump is ridiculous," and they're awful for talking to him like that, and they are. They were fucked up for talking to him like that. But when you really look at the economics behind it and the spending and who's really winning the war right now, and if it's advantageous for the U.S. to be pouring into this war when we're in a deficit ourselves, like, is it helpful? And I think we should support Zelensky. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for Ukraine. I hope Ukraine, you know, um, wins this war, or they can end the war somehow, some way. And I do think, as much as people like to criticize Trump having a relationship with Putin, I think it actually is beneficial. Better to have a relationship with Putin than to be an enemy of Putin. However, you don't want to be somebody that Putin just walks all over. And that's a whole nother thing for another conversation for another time. But anyway, this is a tangent. This is a tangent, and I'm veering off from the main point that I wanted to make, because this wasn't going to be mostly about politics, but the politics is the context of the point that I actually want to make. for those who pay attention to politics and what's happening in the world, these things can affect us. And we have opinions, and we have social media, so we have platforms where we can express our thoughts and perspectives about what's happening in the world, and maybe use our influence to rally and show up. I mean, we saw that with the protests and the people who went out and protested against the administration and voiced their First Amendment right of the fact that they don't agree with what's going on here. And that's and it was beautiful. It was beautiful to see. However, what's the next step? What happens beyond the protest? What's after the protest? It's like, okay, we get out there, we march. What laws are changing now? Like, how are we actually affecting real change? What's the agenda? What are the things, our requests that we want to change in policy? And legitimately, is it going to push forward? And I labeled this the trap of society fighting for freedom, because some irritations that I've been having in my own experiences is just dealing with people. Being an Aquarius, like, they say our trait is like humanitarianism. And I very much identify with that, because I am someone that values Earth and humanity and wanting to see people thrive and win and be healthy and safe. And I really want the best for humanity. And it's frustrating when I have experiences with individuals that like bring out the worst in me. And or like I feel like I'm being misunderstood, or there's like prejudice to someone's reception of me. And I'm just like, if you knew me, you knew that how you're treating me doesn't make any fucking sense. Because it's like, yeah, sure, you can judge certain things like, oh, like my sense of humor, or if I say something that's offensive or whatever. But I'm not someone that deliberately aims to hurt people, and I think if you watch my life and watch everything that I fucking do, you would know that I go out of my way to try to help other people when I really need to be helping my fucking self, and praying for folks, and wishing for people's protection and elevation and healing, even healing the people that be hurting me, and recognizing that there are systems in place that intentionally pit us against each other, because the energy of us feuding ties into other things. What do I mean by that? Let's get into it. I might as well just break it the fuck down. The energy of there being hate crimes against people in different ethnicities, like Asian folks going up against Americans, and on a smaller scale, or or yeah, on a smaller scale. So you're beefing with someone who happens to be of Chinese descent or of Chinese culture, and you're going back and forth, and you're having these issues with them. Energetically, that can be fed off of on a macro. Hence why we're seeing these issues with tariffs, with America going up against China with these tariffs. That's more on the spiritual side of things, but I don't know how else to explain that to you, but that's just what that is. And sometimes, like, it's hard not to feed into that, because say you might have a legitimate reason to be upset, or a legitimate reason to feel like you got to defend yourself, or or stand up for whatever. And especially if people are coming at you, and it's like, hold the fuck up, you know and you might think in your everyday life, whatever it is, whether it's at your job, or if you're on social media, or in your family, or whatever the case may be, your little circumstances in your life, you might feel like, okay, how can I make bigger effect and bigger change in the world if I can't even make these changes in my own life? And it's like, we are more powerful than we know ourselves to be. And the really fucked up thing is when other people know your power and see your power and then try to use your power against you. And but whole time, like, people in higher positions of power are using y'all too. The same way that you feel liberated and like trying to disempower somebody else, the rich and wealthy folks are using y'all as henchmen to do the dirty work for them. And the unfortunate thing is that we're all letting ourselves be pimped energetically to fuel these bigger wars. And that's the thing in society that's like infuriating me. And I see it, and it's like I might not know everything and I might not have all the details, but I can see that. I can see how situations and circumstances are manipulated, and even without knowing, like, okay, which department it is and what office it is and who's the person behind the desk pulling the fucking strings, I'd like to know. But even without that knowledge, I know that we're all being played against each other. I don't have to know you or know those people in positions of power, but I know it's a benefit to them for us to be at odds with each other. And you might feel empowered because it's like, ooh, we're fighting for a cause. That's the bullshit cause they gave you. But chances are they probably created those causes. And it's keeping them in power because they're feeding off that energy. And my issue is like dealing with people who don't see that and who play into that. And, and they talk about politics and they see what's happening in the world, and, and they have opinions and perspectives, but you still participate in the same structures that keeps them in position of power. Like you're still playing at their systemic games. And that's the thing that pisses me off. It's like y'all are partially aware of what's going on, but you still choose to be partially ignorant at the same time. And it's like, all right, we're going to use our platforms to complain about politics and complain about Trump and complain about the Democrats or whoever y'all want to complain about, and fight the system and protest this and protest that. But at the same time, y'all still participate in behaviors that energetically enslave you. And then when you have people that try to tell you the truth or help you or look out for you or whatever, then it's like y'all make it about like, are you Democrat versus Republican? Or who did you vote for? Or this and that. And it's like, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than the politics. It's bigger than, what color you rep. It's really about like, is your spirit free? Are you free to speak how you really want to speak? Or do you got to speak in code because you fear safety? Do you really get to live out the way that you want to live out? Or do you feel like you got to assimilate to a system because that's the system that society gave you? Are you really happy with your life? Or are you just working that job because you feel like you got to work that job to pay your bills? But you worried about who's Republican or Democrat. But you're all slaves to the same system. Are you even free? Are you free to speak how you want to speak? Yeah, we got freedom of speech, free speech. That's the First Amendment. But are you free in your speech? How often do you bite your tongue? How often do you really get to say the things that you want to say? How often do you really get to express love the way that you want to? How often do you get to be in spaces that you actually want to be in and not because you have to be? Are you free? Or are you energetically a slave to the system and you play in by the rules of the system because you're scared? You're scared to say the real thing. You play into it. Or maybe you tell yourself, oh, it's funny. It's because, it's a joke. It's not that serious. And I think too, even though it's a completely different time and situation and scenario, I think to Harriet Tubman. And I don't know, I feel like Harriet Tubman, like, I don't know, she might be like one of my favorite people. And it's not something that I say often, but I remember talking about her not too long ago. I remember this one time when I was hanging out with a friend of mine. Funny enough, I seen like a doppelganger of that friend when I went to this business convention. I mentioned this story before, and I was just talking to him about like just how phenomenal she was and how ridiculous it was that, you know, to even be in a state of slavery, but to know that even though this is legal and this is what's popular right now, to know that shit is wrong and to say I'm going to fight against this. I'm going to not only free myself, but I'm going to free my people. I'm going to free as many people as I can. And I will unalive anybody who gets in the fucking way, even if it's the people that I'm freeing, which is wild. But I respect it. And you know, and it makes me think of like just the state of where the world is today. And you know, and I feel like what I really, really, really feel like, I feel like this is the most important thing that I can say on here. So I don't know if you're listening, but listen to me closely and really hear what I'm saying. The things that we thought were conspiracy theory like 20 years ago, we're in a day and age where we know a lot of those things to be true. Y'all don't say it out loud. Some of y'all do. But we know it to be true. Like magic, like hidden symbolisms and messages, hidden messages in music and projects and secular music, even gospel music. MK Ultra, mind control. We know those things to be true today. And a lot of y'all play into it casually. It's at a point where it's casually done amongst society. Psychological warfare, playing mind games, knowing to say words in a particular way, even though you're saying one thing on the surface, but you're really meaning something underneath that. And the underlining meaning is what you're really trying to manifest when you're turning the gears in someone's mind and you're planting seeds of thoughts in someone's head. This is casual today. Years ago, that was conspiracy theory. That's like, you sound crazy. Of course, all the government is against us and this and that. We're in a day and age where people do that offhandedly. And because the everyday person knows how to do those tactics, it doesn't seem as bad or as severe when people in positions of power do that. We are now desensitized to the wicked tactics that are used in people's music. We see, oh, damn, that's crazy. Like certain ritualistic practices that we see in people's performances. And then folks get unalived. We see it, we recognize it, and it's like, oh, I think it's that. I think that might have been the reason. And then we just go on like business as usual. Because we're being desensitized to these tactics. At first, it was like, deny it, deny it. Of course. Oh, what Illuminati? Who's that? Ain't nobody. We just throwing up these signs because this reps our neighborhood. That could be true. Two things could be true at the same time. Sure, these can be somebody's neighborhood, but y'all really know what this is. We know what it is today. 15 years ago, folks would have been like, oh, you just hyping it up. Why can't this person just rise to, business or fame or acclaim for talent or because they worked really hard? Sure, they might be really hard workers, but we know vampirism is a real thing. That Sinners movie is not fiction. We know that people harvest folks' blood. Those are real things. Now, this might be like the woo-woo portion of the conversation, but it's necessary. And it's all going to make sense. We know these things to be real now, and we casually reference it in code. Some people are bold enough to say it as it is. But because it's so casual now, we are desensitized to when it's being used. We see when it's being used. We see it. We see the symbolisms and the this and the that. And when this happens at this event and then this happens over here and whatever, we see the thing. Now we have the eyes to recognize it. But who's actually courageous enough to call this shit out and say this shit is wrong? This shit is fucked up. We should not be doing this. Unless it works in your favor and you could do the code and, get your algorithm up and, get your content in front of the right person, in front of the right eyes that's going to elevate your platform. Fuck your platforms. Fuck all of y'all platforms. What the fuck are you doing with your platform? I get it. You got bills to pay or whatever, so you trying to get monetized on TikTok. Me too. But what the fuck do y'all really be standing for? Everything ain't a fucking joke sometimes. And I know that word could be said to me and I'll take that. Fine. But like, what do y'all really be standing for? And and don't get me wrong, like there's been a time where I have been so caught up in being somebody's fan where they can do no wrong in my eyes. And even when certain salacious stories come out about them and it's like, oh, it's not that serious. Oh, it's not that, because, oh my God, that concert was so amazing. Fuck your concerts. What the fuck do you stand for? Them concerts don't fucking matter if it's at the risk of someone's soul. But y'all don't want to hear me. Y'all just want to dance. If that. You know, I used to get caught up in that. That whole like, oh, but this is my favorite artist. Oh, but they've done all these positive things. That shit don't matter if you have to risk spiritual integrity. I don't care how good the song is. And what really be fucking me up sometimes is when it's the inspirational songs. The inspirational songs. When it's the girl power songs, you've had the hard times and you can make it to another day. But lo and behold, there's hidden messages in here that's trying to unalive people. I'm sorry. I can't defend y'all people no more. Look, I can't do it. I can't do it. I feel like I've already, as a fan of artists and a fan of art and music and even like not a fan of politics, but just someone that's been aware of politics and participated in like debate clubs. So like, I have an interest in these things. Like I refuse to play along with y'all because we need to be better. And I get it. Some people may be in like compromising positions and it's like it's not that easy. Like, you gotta play along, you gotta play the game. And I'm just like, I don't have to play that game. Cause y'all don't bother telling me the rules anyway. Y'all don't even bother letting me know that there's a game happening. So to me, it's like, fuck the game. Everybody say, oh, you gotta play the game. You gotta play the game to get ahead. Some of us don't even know a game is in play. Some of us don't even know we're being used as pieces on somebody's board. Some of us don't even have people around us that will tell us that a game is in play and have the courtesy of even giving us the rules to the game. And with that said, I like fuck y'all games. Fuck y'all games. Fuck y'all products. Fuck y'all catalogs. Like, cause what do y'all really stand for? Normally, I would say respectfully, I can't even respect the shit. I can't. And I feel like I'm being lenient with how I'm saying this. I could really go in and like just tear people's down to shreds. And I'm not going to do that because growth. And I'm really trying my best to be a better person. But this needs to be said. And I'm trying to say it in like the most forthright way. Because the thing is, like I said, with my issue with Trump and his presidency is that there's people around him that will not tell him the truth because they don't want to get on his bad side. And I feel like to be a leader, you have to have people around you that's willing to tell you the truth. Like, and to be able to receive it and tell you what you need to hear rather than the things you want to hear. And if somebody opposes you, God forbid somebody has a different opinion and that has expertise in an area that you might not have, but are willing to tell you what you need to hear and not to belittle you, but to help and to elevate because they genuinely want to see you do a good job. That's why I speak like this. That's why I talk like this. Because I give a fuck and I care. And I see this shit and I deal with this in my real life and like just in simple experiences like grocery shopping. Like, why does grocery shopping have to be so fucking political? With what products and the products ain't coming in and these products got these many calories in it and these numbers and symbols and all this stuff because it came from this place and there's tariffs over here. So, but because there's tariffs here, now we got to worry about the products. And we just go along with the shit. We just participate. We just play our role. I got to go grocery shopping at this time at this place. So let me make sure I'm over there. And you know, they got these bullshit products, but I got to get something. So I'm just going to stand in this store and I'm going to play my role as a trapped member of society and not even try to even have the mental capacity to think that we deserve better. We deserve better. And for me, like, I know I struggle with trying not to be so upset with the things that's happening at the micro because I know it's really just manipulation of things that's happening at the macro. Whether it's again these tariffs, people in positions of power, war that's going on with the government, or even on the spiritual side of things. We might be seeing like a physical manifestation of some shit happening, and it's probably some spiritual influences going on too. And we know this. And no matter what spiritual background you got, that's another part of the things that I feel like as in this day and age, we are aware of that now. We know that there are spiritual influences to circumstances and situations that we see. And a lot of us even play into it. And again, when you play into these things, why? What is your intention? What do you hope is the outcome? Like, are you the type of person that would use magic to heal somebody or shit on somebody? And why? Why? What is your reason? Is it because you want to? Are you proud of that? Does that fulfill your spirit inside? Does that make you feel good in your soul? Are you proud of yourself when you know, learn tactics to manipulate circumstances in your life? And instead of being a blessing, are you proud of yourself? Are you proud? My thing is like, I'm not just on my NarisseM soapbox to rant and rave. I say this again because I actually care about society, and I try to understand that some people may be in compromising situations where they feel like it's the game that they have to play and stakes are high. But I'm saying, grow some fucking balls and actually stand for something. And if you don't want to do some shit, don't fucking do it. You know, because I think it's interesting how people will have like opinions and perspectives about, you know, how you move in your life and who you decide to like associate with or defend or protect or stand up for or whatever. But those be the same people that's quick to attack you and quick to use their platform and their energy to judge you. But it's like, all right, if you're going to judge someone else by who they associate with, or, you know, or who they decide to love, or whatever, you know, whether it's like a racial thing or LGBTQ thing or whatever the case may be, if you're not presenting a solution, the fuck are you talking for? Do you have a better option? Are you a better option? You know, like, I mean, and, you know, I'm just saying. And like, and it's hard to critique that because I know like we all can be opinionated. I'm opinionated and I know that. But I'm just saying, like, if you're going to be opinionated, then what's the solution for your opinions? Or are you just spewing opinions just to be talking? Are you actually trying to present solutions? Are you trying to help? So you mean to tell me if I'm in your town and I come across you, you going to look out for me? You going to make sure I'm good when I'm in your vicinity? Are you going to make sure, you know, like, let me know. Are you going to help heal me? Because I want to help heal you. And that's just really what I'm about. And that's for anybody across the board, whether it's friends or whoever. That's like I say, I get on here and I be defending folks and advocating for people. And I'm not doing that too much these days. I'm going to be very selective. And you know, and I even said this in um I don't know, I think it was a live stream. Yeah. My thing is like, I'm loyal to a fault. And I'm okay with having that problem. Because I think having that problem is really a testament to my character. I'd rather be frustrated knowing that I spent time and energy trying to protect people, look out for people, show up for people, love people, versus being hated for being mean spirited and being an awful person and being rude and, you know, just abusive and mean. And some of y'all are that. And you don't have to be. Y'all don't have to be. And now, where things get a little bit murky is when there's like a little bit of both. And that's where I say my energy gets selective. Because that's when I start like pulling back from doing anything, whether it's helping or speaking up for, or whatever the case may be. Because I'm like, and again, like I said, like I understand that, and I'm speaking of society in a very general sense. I understand if people are in circumstances where it's like for example, say you grew up in a family, in like a Latin family, and you dating somebody that's black, and your family can be prejudiced towards black folks or whatever. And so you trying to toe the line between like being there for the person that but then the family is like judging you because it is and that, and but that's your family, so it's like you don't want to disrespect your family or whatever, you know. However, it gets to a point where it's like you gotta make a stand for something. It's like either you stand up to your family or leave that person alone. Like, you know what I mean? Um, however, for me, like just in a very general sense, like when it comes to like just people, and not even just like with friendships and family members, or just like even like folks I've dated, or or just random people that like may have needed help or whatever the case may be. Like I know I'm not perfect, but I try my best to do the right thing or do a good thing and show love and big up and highlight people, especially if I see they're doing good. If I see like there's good intentions and they mean well, then fine. Like then that's I'm loyal to that. And and of course sometimes with family, like family irritates you. And and nobody's perfect. Of course there's times where people show up for you, and then sometimes they disappoint you. And and we all deal with that. We all deal with that in our lives, whether it's like our parents, our friends, whoever. Like I'm sure there's been a time where like the people that you care for, that show up for you or help you out or whatever the case may be, or people that you help out, there's been an instance or circumstance where they let you down. And and I think those things are like kind of tough to deal with. But and I don't know. I think it's just a matter of like just weighing the pros and cons of like, okay, how often is the disappointment versus like the value of, you know, how people show up for you. And I think that matters. And then trying to be understanding of people's situations and circumstances or whatever. Like say if somebody's going through a hard time, if somebody's going through a hard time, and trying to be understanding about their situation, and maybe like, okay, they can't show up for you the way you need them to show up for you. And like, and I don't know, like that's a tough spot for me, like trying to be understanding of that, but then also at the same time knowing like, all right, I get it, you going through a rough patch right now, and I'm trying to be lenient, but at the same time, for my own self-respect and integrity and dignity, like I know I deserve better. Point blank period. And that's really the synopsis of like this whole conversation. And I'm just speaking for society. Like we all deserve better. We all deserve better than the bullshit games that we play along into and that we play a part of, because it's socially acceptable. Like we gotta park our car over here. When we go to a grocery store, we pay with money because these are the systems that we have. And some systems are necessary. Some systems are good to have, and we need those systems. However, some systems are bullshit. Some systems are bullshit. Like being prejudiced to people based on their backgrounds, or giving people like, being selective about who you want to, have good service to if you're a business owner. And it's like, okay, this person gets good service, but I'm gonna treat you like shit. For what? And I feel we all know this. And if you don't know, now you know, because I'm here to tell you. And we all deserve better. We all deserve better. I want better for all of us. And I mean, maybe for me personally, it might be more selfish just because I've had some experiences with individuals that give me a hard time. And I feel like for asinine reasons, um, aside from me just being a black woman in America dealing with racism sometimes, unjustified racism, if you want to call it that. Um, but I feel like as people on a smaller scale, we're easily pitted against each other. And some people may feel like they got a little bit of power over others because they know a little bit of knowledge and they are more tactical about their manipulative strategies. But you're still at the bottom too, because the people above you are playing you as well, unless they're helping you, which is a different thing. If they're helping you and giving you, you know, like knowledge and guidance and stuff like that's a different thing, you know. But I think it's easy for us to be pitted against each other and to attack one another and to see the worst in one another and not take the time to really like recognize, like, do you have to do this? Do you have to be a part of these systems? Like again, that analogy you would like the whole you know, actually reminds me of a movie I was watching. What was it? Blind Date or something like that with Chris Pine, the guy who played Captain Kirk in the more recent Star Trek movies. Which it was, I be thinking, I have some questions about that. I'm like, I wonder if he knew he was going to be in Star Trek when filming this movie. But anyway, it's like it's not like a super like popular movie of his, but I had seen it. It was on Tubi, and it was interesting. I was like, oh, look at the symbolism in this movie. It just happens to be everywhere. I see. If you've seen the movie, you might get the reference. Um, but anyway, in the movie, I'll just like ruin some of the plot. But he's a blind guy. He's considering this surgery that would help him get eyesight or something like that. And the girl that works at the office is an Indian girl. And they start kind of like, they like each other. And she really likes him, but she's already a part of this like arranged marriage with this other Indian guy because her family is really traditional and whatnot. And that's just how like tradition is with Indian folks. And he's thinking like she don't want to be with him because he's blind. And she's like, nah, it's not that. Like, I think you're a really great guy. And, they really like each other's presence and all these things. It's just, you know, she has a traditional family. And, and for a period of time, she was just going along with what her family wanted for her, because that was tradition, But at the same time, you know, it's a matter of like, are you going to go with what these people want for you? Or are you just going to live your truth and really get to express yourself the way you really want to? Are you following the script? Or are you just going to speak truthfully the way you want to speak? Or are you trying to enforce your script onto other people? But you're not free yourself. Oh, they don't want to talk about that though. Did they put that in the did they put that in the script? Listening for the Illuminati that tries to implant ideas into my mind. Jokes. But is it though? Because I'm sure they know how to do that. I'm sure they know how to actually do that. Because they do that in witchcraft with voodoo magic. Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't put it past secret societies knowing how to do that too. And this is us speaking out of code because we just need to say the thing as it is. Anyway, Yeah. Free yourself. Stop listening to these motherfuckers tell you what to do and, tell you what to say and how to live. And we're more powerful than we think we are. And, if you got issues with certain things, then present solutions. If you ain't got no solution, shut the fuck up and get the fuck out my face. Spiritually, literally, figuratively, financially, get out my face. Yeah. Much love. With that said, that's my TED Talk for the day. That's my TED Talk. While I'm in between tests, Angie's chilling here. Just doing some laundry earlier today, and running some errands, and facing fears every day. Tears for the fears. Yeah. But anyway, that's all I'm gonna say. Have a good night. Much love to y'all. I will talk to y'all later. Take care. Have a great night. Be a solution. If not, don't say nothing. Break out the system. Free yourself. Free your spirit. And be a light. Be a light.